but your voices will still be heard. So what's our first rule with 1 point? We talked about some lines. There are 3 types of lines. What are they?
Vanishing lines.
Vanishing lines, yeah, also called orthogonals. Okay, thank you. What other types of lines?
Vertical and horizontal.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and so in 1 point perspective, vanishing line, vertical lines remain what?
Vertical.
Horizontal lines remain,
Horizontal.
yep, and orthogonals remain
Orthogonal.
orthogonals. Okay. So you kind of see why orthogonal is a bit better than vanishing, just because you're already using the V for vertical. So you see this again in CMYK, CMYK, with black being black, black is K because B is already bloom. So this is kind of like helpful for us to remember so we don't get them confused when we write out our little equations or whatever. K is also black because it's also key, which locks together a printed image, and that's where CMYK comes from. So then in 2 point perspective, vertical lines remain what?
Vertical.
Correct, vertical, and horizontal lines become what?
Orthogonal.
Orthogonal, yep, and then of course, perfect, thank you, and then orthogonals become orthogonals or remain orthogonals. And then in 3 point perspective, all we have are what?
Orthogonal.
Right, all we have are orthogonals, okay? And now again, in 2 point and 3 point, there will be some occasions where you still do get, a pure vertical and horizontal axis, but that is only as a result of them lining up to the horizon and vanishing point, okay? It's really rare in a 3 point, but it does happen. Okay, so let's go ahead, that's great. All right, so let's go ahead and turn on our perspective guide. All right, let's pick up our vanishing point. Let's kind of move it up in the air because we haven't really done that much. Okay, and then let's just lock it into place. All right, and so then let's just, just for fun, let's just build, just a good old fashioned cube. And so I could do this by just turning off my perspective, turning on my rectangle tool, making a cube. Okay, whoops. Sorry, I don't know what you just saw. It's the problem with using my personal equipment. Okay, so there we go. And then your job now is just to make that 3-dimensional. So you should be, hopefully this all functions well in your brain. Orthogonals go to the vanishing point, and then you have your vertical line deciding on its length. Something like that. Now, do you see how, like with my Apple Pencil, I can do a line and then, let me turn this off. I can do a line and then if I turn it, it gets thicker. I'm actually probably going to find that to be problematic in perspective. So I'm actually going to turn that off. I'm going to click on my technical pen. I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to go to pressure, if this is happening to you. And so here I can just adjust that. I can adjust size with pressure, or size with light pressure, opacity with heavy pressure, opacity with light pressure. And let's see if I can just change this down, if that will help me to maintain a single line. No, still doing it. So then adjust this, see if that works. Oh, that's opacity. So that's where that would be if you're having that problem. As you can see, I'm not obviously not a professional digital drawer. And so like you can kind of see that. But we should be able to sort of monitor, like keep this somewhat normal. Okay, so to do that like heavier line there, I really have to twist and roll the side of my pencil. So I love when I'm trying to show how to fix something and I can't fix it. Classic, classic. Okay, so then just simply make a new new layer, and then just, you can then just trace over the lines that you need to keep. And then you should have a little rectangle. Like so. Okay. So let's just review. How do we find the center?
You draw a line from each corner to corner and then divide from the middle area and then across.
Correct. Okay, let's all do that. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and do that to the top plane. Ariel, I just saw your question. Did you figure it out? I prefer if you could speak rather than type.
Trying to press spacebar and it started typing instead. No, I did not figure it out. I missed last class, so I think I missed the instruction on all of this stuff in the Sketchbook app.
Okay, I think I posted the link for the last class.
Oh, I did not know that.
Okay, that's okay, but I think it should be in there. But what's happening probably, so when you're using your sketchbook with the perspective grid, and so what you're saying is are you on the app or the desktop?
Yeah, I'm on the app and I have the lines on, and then when I try to draw a square, when I click the square and circle
Yes.
button, then all my lines disappear.
Yeah, it does that.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
How did-
Yep, that's totally normal.
Wait, but how did you do that?
It turned off, you just probably missed it.
Oh,
See how this is turned on right now? Like you can see my perspective grid. If I hit tool, like this draw style tool, it turns off. Do you see?
oh,
Because it's like, it's saying you can't use two tools at once. So yeah, totally fine.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so after you've done corner to corner, y'all, then let's just go ahead and pull that center orthogonal through there. Now and Ariel, your mic's still on. And then as long as you've got the Maglon, you don't need to draw the line all the way to the vanishing point. It'll automatically go in line to the orthogonal receding direction. And then here, the same thing with your horizontal. Okay. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull an orthogonal. I'm just gonna let's do it this way. I'm gonna change colors, make a new layer. I'm gonna use my diagonal tool. I'm gonna section this area off again and divide it in half. It wasn't straight. Okay. And I'm just changing colors a lot to help you so you can see. Now I've got, a quarter, and a half. So now I'm actually going to section that again. And now I've got an eighth, a quarter, and a half. Now, this is a great way just to divide up space into equal sections so we can kind of like find an equal quantity. Okay. And what I want to look at with you is, I'm going to change to blue, this point here and this point here. And what I'm going to do with my perspective guide on is I'm just going to draw back till I meet that. Back till I meet that. And then where they intersect, I'm going to draw a horizontal line. And then here, I'm just going to recover that horizontal line. That didn't look quite right. So the problem is, like, when you're doing these types of things is that if you don't quite get exactly on where that intersection is going to happen, it will throw off some of your points. So you can see there's an issue. Go from here back to there. There we go. It's a bit better. Okay. Once you have that established, then just, let's go ahead and just create a new layer. I love making layers. They're free. Many things in life aren't, but they are. And let's just recopy that interior rectangle that we just made. Okay. So you can actually go back to this layer here, and we can just go in, just erase all these lines now because we don't need them. Sometimes I will have you leave the lines because I like them. I think they're pretty. Did I use the Italian term for the underdrawing the other day? Do you all remember? Pedamente. It basically just means underdrawing, or all the drawing that you would do to build a form. So now we have that. Okay, then we can go back to our purple layer there. We don't really need the perspective grid for this. We can just use the straight line tool. We're just going to draw a straight line straight down. Back there. Just make sure it connects. Now, what would be important is like on this layer, maybe just going through and just checking to make sure that like we wouldn't see that back corner. I'm just kind of fudging it in to see, well, okay, yeah, like I'm not going to see it because it's hidden by this part here. So because that's there, I'm not going to see the inside of that corner. So that's good. We don't want it. That means that we've done it right. And I just did it on another layer, so it wasn't permanent. That was all. Okay, now we can actually just delete this layer if we want, and then just merge those two layers together. Let's do the old trick here. Let's see if our forms were solid. So maybe in there, okay, that looks solid. I'm going to go with a tint. So I'm going to add white to that and do in there. That looks good. Okay. Now on the outside, let's go with a brighter color. I'm going to go with a little bit of a blue. Let's see how I did. Ah, so I've got some corners that aren't joining, which means I have some problems with how I made my intersection. So I need to go and look. Why does it matter? Only in the sense that like we want to ensure that we are connecting in the right spots to make sure that the orthogonals and those vertical lines and those horizontal lines are interacting correctly. So the perspective is correct. Still not quite there. Vaughn, what did you do? Maybe it's here. There we go. I'm just going to add some black to that, making it a shade. I'm just going to add some more black to that, making it a darker shade. Yeah, the bucket tool is the little paint bucket. Thanks, everybody. Keep answering each other's questions because I can't, if you don't say the question out loud, I can't really get to it quickly. Okay. Nice little 1-point perspective brick. Now, say we want to be cheeky, and we are going to be because we must be. We're actually gonna, let's make this a little bit more of a situation where we can see inside the brick from the front plane. So then we're just gonna go in. Again, we're gonna use that draw style tool. I'm gonna make a new layer and I'm just gonna draw corner to corner like so. Now, a lot of our work's already been done for us, which is rad. We're gonna just extend, and we could turn on our perspective tool for this. We're just gonna extend that line there and there. And then that's gonna automatically then tell us where we can put in this line. Whoopsie, we can put in this line here, like so. Again, a little easier with the perspective tool on because it's automatically going to make it vertical, automatically make it vertical. Now we have our intersections here and here. So now we know that we can get rid of that center area. Now, this means we're going to see some of the inside. Let's pull this back line down here and let's see, are we still going to see some of that back there? Oop, come on. There. Yeah, we are. We're going to see a little bit back here because watch. Is that going to work? No, that's not right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Right here. Boop, 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 boop. A weird tiny little amount there. So to pick up my paint bucket tool here. Grab that, and this will become that color. Okay. And then this. And then I can pick up this. Back here. A tiny part of that wall back there. And then we can just take like a nice dark shade and do this in here. Okay. So remember, I told you already that a lot of how you're going to learn to do perspective is just playing around and seeing what you can do. We haven't even got to cylinders yet. That's when the fun really starts. So I'm just kind of like cleaning this up. Making it function, hopefully making it function pretty well. Well enough, I suppose. Now, there's a little bit of a problem with this, which we can investigate, which is that what we're saying here is that there's a difference from the outside edge to the inside edge. And we're saying that here, but then that's not replicated here. And that's where this line here can come down, interact here, to sort of mimic that idea of that interior wall that we see back here, that interior thickness. So it would come down from this corner here and come straight down, interact with that line, and then go over. It's going to appear wider and thicker because we're looking down in the space and it's close to us. So I'm just picking up some of these colors that we've used in other places.
Do you want us to add the arrows like you are?
No, that's just for you, so you can understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that needs to be a bit darker just because of its location. Whoopsie. Now, is that extra thickness there really necessary? I don't know. Maybe not. Okay, but it's where it would be. Oops. So I'm just going to merge that all together. Actually going to delete this. And I'm going to save that. I'm just going to save it, but we don't really need it right now. It just looks kind of pretty. Let's kind of make a new line, a new new layer when you're ready. So I'll give you a couple more minutes to finish that up. Okay, let's go ahead and let's turn on the perspective guide. Let's keep it in the same place because it should then be like a little bit familiar with you. Okay, so what we're gonna do is let's just go ahead and I'm gonna go about here. Whoopsie. And draw an orthogonal, and about here, horizontal, about here, an orthogonal, I'm sorry, a horizontal. And then like, let's go about here. Yeah, that looks about right. Could be a bit wider. You want to make it look like, you know, this is about square-esque, okay? And then straight line up, straight line up. Whoopsie. Orthogonal, like that. Straight line down, straight line down, orthogonal, horizontal over, horizontal over, here. How did that happen that way? It's not right. Should be here. Oh, I see what I did. Okay, and then through here. So this is the lines that you should have. Do it in red. Here, 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 here. Okay, and then we're gonna go here, there, 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 there. You can see then even when I did it with all those orthogonals, it gets a bit confusing. So go ahead and see if you work that out.
I'm having a hard time every time when I'm trying to draw, my lines don't like show up where I'm drawing them. No.
Okay, so then probably what's happening, Ariel, is like, what I imagine is happening is that like, if you zoom in really close, are they actually connecting?
No, not really.
Okay, so what can happen with perspective is like, if the first line you draw didn't actually come from the correct intersection, then all the other ones won't. Does that make sense?
No, I mean,
So-
I don't know if I said it to make sense properly. Like what sorry, like it doesn't seem like it's calibrated or something. I don't know. It keeps trying to draw on its own accord, kind of.
Oh, yes, it will.
Okay. So I'm having a hard time making like the shape because when I'm trying to like draw a line between like make this square, then it like is kind of
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like what's happening is just like a precision problem. So by that I mean like say in your first drawing, your first square, right? When you do that first orthogonal, like that comes right out of the point, but when you did the second one, it's just a smidgen off. Do you see? Then just that little tiny smidgen, then like builds and builds and builds quantitatively.
even when I was trying to start drawing the orthogonals first, like they wouldn't.
Yeah. So that's just you getting used to the app. So again, if you watch when I turn on the draw tool, right? If I want to draw a horizontal line and I don't give it enough of a thrust, the machine's like, I don't know what you want me to do. So it's like you have to draw a longer line than you need a lot of times. Otherwise it just won't let you. Okay. Now, if you're really close and you're having a little bit of a problem, like lining something up, you can always turn the magnet off and just make that little connection that you need. Okay. Do you want to go ahead and share your screen with me so I can see where you're at? I paused the recording.
Ooh,
So if you're ready, we're going to take this shape, which is obviously, I hope, making sense for you as a chair, and let's kind of build it out a little bit. Okay. So we're going to take a new layer and then just take a lighter color, whatever color you want. And then let's just do our favorite corner to corner. And then that will help us get our horizontal, which I do find easier to do with just the good old fashioned, she says after her third try, perspective tool. And then this is just nice to help us find the center of all of our spaces. So just go ahead and bring that down like that. Okay. And now what we want to do is we want to figure out like what kind of widths do we want our chair legs to have? What kind of widths do we want the back of our chair to have? So let's just sort of start off with picking that apart. So I'm going to stay with the same tool. I'm going to do my Drupal style. I'm going to go corner to corner here. Now, if I do that, then I'm going to end up with basically, right, like a quarter and a quarter. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, and I can say to myself, well, is that going to be too wide for a chair leg? And quite frankly, I think it is. Okay, so I'm actually going to half that again. Corner, whoop, didn't come out of the intersection there. Corner to corner. Half that. Pew! How's that look? That looks a lot better. Okay. So now that can tell me a lot. I can go ahead and do my horizontal line here and my vertical line here. Okay. That tells me a lot. So now, we're just going to sort of do the same thing, but on the back corner using that straight line tool, corner to corner. Horizontal, vertical. Whoopsie. And then corner to corner back here. Now you can see, of course, because it's further away, the space is much reduced. Which of course is what we want. So now we can start to see what the footprint of the chair is. And so something that I find really helpful here is as we start to build these layers is I just take that layer and I'm just going to drag down its opacity because it's just a bunch of building lines. They're just orthogonals that I'm constructing with. Okay. So if you ever watched Fraggle Rock, this is the work of the dozers. I don't think any of you have probably ever seen Fraggle Rock. I'm glad. I'm glad. About the Dark Crystal, anybody? Such a good one. Such a good one. And the new Dark Crystal on Netflix is really good. Really worth watching. Really worth watching. I'm sorry, Maya, that it scared you for life. I can understand the Fraggles can be. They're such weird little things. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we got a new layer. Okay. And we're going to use our straight line tool. I'm going to go corner here to corner there. Divide it horizontally. I should do a better job of this because I'm the one teaching it. So make sure you get on your actual corner. through the middle. Okay. And again, corner to corner. Through the middle. Boop, didn't work. And then corner to corner again, and we're going to get a measurement now that is going to be pretty the same type of ratio here on the outside as what we got on the top. And so then we can take this here down there. So all I'm doing is it looks super confusing, but all I'm doing is just dividing space, dividing space, dividing space. It's a very good one. I agree, Ellie. So just dividing the space. It looks confusing, but it's really easy. It's just corner to corner, new line, horizontal line, corner to corner, new horizontal line, corner to corner, new horizontal line. So what we've basically created, I'm going to go down to a much darker color here, is this sort of like sectioning of space there and there and here and here. Then we've got this back section there to that section that's already there, right? Because outside contour to that section and that section. There and there. Here. 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 And so you can see how like we can start to build space, or in this case, dimensional form. It's very sort of slowly but methodically and with sort of some logic to what we're trying to do. So now we can see here that if we look inside this space here, I can figure out where the back edge of that, this line here is for the sort of distal edge of this part of the chair. This becomes the front plane. That all makes sense, okay? So then what we need to figure out is how does that intersect here with the idea of the inside edge of the chair. So right here, we would just do a horizontal line like that. Okay, now this line back there is just a hair misleading because it's not from any of the measurements that we've done per se. So we don't want to get too confused by that back line back there. Okay, so we can erase it if we need to, up to you. So now when we kind of like start to put this all together, right? Like what we want to think about is like, well, where is this width over here? Where is it going to intersect? And so it should be, pardon me, I made one boo-boo here that I shouldn't have made. It's this line here is completely wrong, Vaughn. We've actually already found it, right? Because it's going to come down and intersect here. Like that. And then if we go in here and we go like this, we already did that space. So then we could redo our corner to corner here. That would give us a vertical here. And do this corner here. That would give us a vertical here. And then this corner here, if we're going by the division of eighths that we already established, then we can see that's going to give us kind of an idea here of where that line would go. Because we built everything off of eighths. So then we can check that. We can say, well, if we do a horizontal line out here, and I do an orthogonal line from here back there, is that going to be the appropriate width? And it very well can be without an issue. Then to find the other side's thickness, we would just simply just go the other way. Here. Vertical, pardon me, vertical. Here. Again, looks like a lot of lines, but they're just easy divisions of space. So now we have an idea of where this back line is going to go. This front line here will be coming down through here. So if I redraw all that on the original layer, now I've got something like this. And this. And this. And this. And this. And that. And that. And then this and this and this. I'm just redrawing some of my lines here on that original layer. So we get something like this. There I do a straight line down. Here I do a straight line down. So I have something like that. So what I was trying to figure out, y'all, is like why wasn't this line that I just drew here connecting to this? Well, it's not going to, because in reality, it's part of the structure that's there. See? So that line is actually helping me to determine where this thickness is here. Just the same way that I can draw, and I need to remember to get on a new layer here. I can draw straight up here, and that will tell me where that line's going to go. I can also just draw this straight over there if I want them to be visually the same. Which I think I do, because I think I made just a little, I must have gotten a line confused. There we go. So now I just want to find the thickness for everything. So it just becomes, it just starts to become like putting together a puzzle. Okay. So basically, if you can remember that a chair is always a square on the top and a chair is always a square on the sides, you know, that, I mean, if it's a rectangular chair, it's going to have a rectangle on the top and a rectangle on the bottom. If it's a square chair, it's going to have a square on the top and a square on the bottom. So back here, we've already got, for instance, like this little rectangle there. And so when I draw this line here across, it interacts with that orthogonal and that orthogonal. And then I can draw my straight line straight down from there and straight down from there to there, and it creates yet another little rectangle back there. It would look like that. But all of this is hidden behind that leg. And then if the chair isn't got a hole in it, then we wouldn't see any of this. It'll just look like that. So as you're building, if you come across mistakes, you can feel free to erase them. That's the beauty of working with the digital tools. And so now that we know where the top edges of the sort of structure of the chair are, they're here. Now, if we just bring that up, we can start to see where like the back is. The problem if we left it like that is the back would now be paper thin. So we have to determine the interior thickness. And we've actually already done that because we can just bring that line up, bring this line up. Okay, that becomes the front face. And then a horizontal line there becomes the side. Front face. Side. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go change all of my layers so they're really not very dark. I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to redraw every line that I need. And this is a time too where it's interesting that it's straightening up my lines again. Just take your time, let the computer, if you start to draw a line and the computer says, no, that's not quite straight, let it, let it fix itself. Like let it help you. And if you have like a little tiny hole where your lines meet, don't feel bad, just to use that freehand tool. Turn off the magnet and just get it in there. Okay, so this is a really simple shape, but look how complex it is. But again, just like other stuff that we've had to do, once you understand the principles, then it will start to make sense. I hope. And if it doesn't, that's what office hours are for. It gets very frustrating when it won't do what you want it to do. I know. Sometimes you have to zoom in. Can I make a discussion board so we can post our chairs? Okay, I'm just wrapping up building your discussion here. Okay, so you're going to, just like we have done other classes, go ahead and embed your work into that discussion. We're going to build, we're going to do other things with it today too. Like, we're going to add to the discussion today too. So I just kind of would like to be able to see now what we've got. So we went ahead and found the outside of the road by dividing the bottom section into half and finding the center of each half. So now we have this. Okay, and so now what we want to do is let's go ahead and begin with just sort of establishing some basic proportions. So let's go up over on the left side. Let's just go up like what looks like a good, I don't know, how do you decide this without a ruler? We could do the divisions, but I think that would take a long time. So if we look at this space from the horizon line here to here, we want it to be about, I don't know, about a 16th. You can make a decision about how high that looks like to you. What you want to think about here is we're going to draw the thickness of the curb. So this is the width of the road here. So how high should the curb be? Think about it, make a choice. I think it should be about a 16th of this entire space. That's not a 16th, is it? It's more like, well, that's close, I think. We're gonna go with it. We're cool at what it is. That's what it is. You just decide. Totally happy. You figure it out. Something that feels good to you. Something that feels nice to you. Then we're gonna draw a horizontal line using the tools that Sketchbook has provided us. I'm gonna draw a horizontal line all the way over. That's gonna tell us now where this orthogonal will come into place. So I'm just gonna make a new layer so I can show you cleanly what we have now. We have this, we have this, we have this, whoopsie. We have this. There you go, that was actually a bit more on the corner. This. Okay, so that's how we find the height of the curb so that it's equal on each side. So like, what kind of things do we need to think about here? Well, right, like if my cars are this big, then that tells me that this is more of a wall, more of a wall, more of a wall, trying to like get it out of my mouth. Okay. However, if the car is this big, that's a bit more like the size of a curb, perhaps. So we have to think about like what size road are we building if our curb is that high? Now, if the curb seems too high to you, just half that in half. You know, just take that line and say, actually, I think it's more like that. Okay, there you go. Cool. You make that choice. Now, we have a curb. Let's go ahead and reestablish our horizon line because it's going to be important to us. Okay, and so now we have to think about things like proportional relationships. Like if that's our road and that's our curb, then how big would a building be? Well, we know a building now is not going to be this big. Because that would be like a gigantic curb. Okay, so now we need to think about the ratio, visual ratio of the height of the curb to the height of the building and where the buildings might come into play. So think about what you know about curbs, how high this is. What would the width of the sidewalk usually be? Probably something about that. I don't think the sidewalk would be this wide here. I think that would be a very tall curb for a very tiny sidewalk. However, I think that if the sidewalk were about this wide, then that would make sense with the height of that curb. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to draw in where my orthogonal is. I think that looks pretty right. That feels pretty good. Probably should work on this layer here so that I don't have to do a bunch of erasing again. So I'm going to create that orthogonal again, horizontal line all the way over, and then boop, orthogonal to the back, orthogonal to the back, orthogonal to the back. Okay, so we could have something like that. Height of the curb to the width of the sidewalk. How do you make that choice? Make the choice. What feels good? What feels good? Okay, that's all it is. Now, if we're using rulers, like, you know, I think Sketchbook, I always get a bit disappointed that they don't have a ruler with numbers on it. But we could do it with that. We could say like, okay, this is a 1/4 inch, you know, this is going to be, you know, 7/8 of an inch. But Sketchbook doesn't have that option, so we're just going to roll with it this way. Okay. Now, when we're thinking about foreground, middle ground, and background, one of the ways that we can trick the eye into believing that something is more natural is to not begin it right at the corners of our pictorial space. So let's go ahead and draw a vertical line here, please. It's like, no, not gonna let you. There you go. And again, I should be on my other layer. It's about here. How did I decide? Just felt it. Then from there, I'm just going to draw a horizontal line over. And go back to this layer here. Draw a horizontal line all the way over. It tells me where it interacts over here. Because I know where it interacts there, I know where the vertical line is going to go there. Now the fun part. Thumbs up for who's with me. Anyone? No one's with me. Okay, cool, 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 cool. Okay, okay. Okay, someone who's not with me, why are you not with me?
I actually missed the first step. So like, I try to follow the rest of it.
Okay. Who is speaking? I'm sorry.
Me,
Oh,
Joy.
Joylyn. Joy. Yeah, so you missed the very first thing?
Yeah, but I got to follow the rest of it.
Okay, yeah, all I did to get the first distance was I just basically divided the bottom half into halves and then used that same process we've been using all along. Does that make sense?
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. And I only did that to help me determine what felt like a good width of the road. Okay. It didn't have to be that. Okay. And looking at it right now, that was a step I didn't have to do because the corner of my road lined up automatically as an orthogonal to the center. So didn't really need to do all that. Okay. Next step, one more step, and then we'll take a quick break. This is one of those classes, y'all. Lots of info today. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I actually need this tool, which is this guide tool. So I'm going to click on that. You see it's a little guide. It's like a little ruler. And as annoying as Sketchbook is, it's going to not give us numbers. Thanks, Sketchbook. Okay, but other than that, honestly, it's a really great free program. Just saying. So I want to now, I'm going to go down here and I'm moving this with my fingers just by dragging it. Ooh, wee, wee. Okay. And what I want to do is I'm going to come from that top line there, or I can come from the bottom line, up to you. And let's do like, if I move this, I go all the way to like a 20 or 25 degree angle. If I was using this to help me determine where the next segment of the sidewalk would be, you could see that that would be a really long segment. So what matters here is the angle that you pick. What angle do you pick? Well, let's find one that pictorially looks like pretty good. So if I look here, if I go with a 10-degree angle, okay, and I just make a mark here. I'm going to actually go back to this layer with all my drawings on it. Okay. Now, what that does is that creates for me, if I click on my new layer that I'm making, turn off the guide, and just make like a little mark here. Then we turn this off, I can see where the next section of the sidewalk would be. And then I'm going to turn my perspective grid on, turn on the magnet, horizontal, vertical, oh. Clean that up. Clean that up. Okay. And then I can go back to this one. And I can go, I want to go all the way over. Oops, wrong layer. All the way over here. Boop. On my new layer now, I can do a vertical line. And a horizontal line. Okay. Now we said it was about 10 degrees, so I can turn on my guide again, and I can just, I'm just gonna pull my ruler up again at the same angle. And on this layer, I'm gonna just make a line there. That's really all I need. I can zoom in, turn on my perspective guide, and I can go vertical line, horizontal. Turn on this guide again, this layer, go all the way over. Horizontal all the way over. And if I use the same angle, it will automatically decrease as it goes further back. Visually. So you can see as it goes further back that the location, the distance between each of those diagonal lines is decreasing. Each time. And that just helps us to get like an even diminishment of space. Now remember that if you were walking down this sidewalk and you were looking down each time you took a step, it would never, you know, those proportional changes wouldn't feel visible. But if you're at your standing point, and you don't move, and you look down the space, you're going to see a visual diminishment of space. So just keep going all the way to the back. 10-degree angle. And you'll notice eventually it'll start to get really tiny back there. And you're kind of be like trying to figure out where these things go because it gets so small. But if you keep the rule going, then it will function. If you don't pay any attention to the rule, then it will not evenly diminish. And it's that even diminishment of space, that predictable space that makes literally the lie of the perspective function. So just keep going through. We picked a 10-degree angle in the beginning. We're going to keep with that 10-degree angle now. Eventually, it's just going to get completely squished. Especially if you're using a thicker line like what's happening with my pen right now. And then eventually you can start to just give us the visual cues that it's diminishing. Like once it gets so small, you can give us those cues that it's diminishing. But what's great about the computer, of course, is that we can just continue to zoom in. And that gives us a chance to get as much accuracy as we possibly can do. Going back. But it's also getting quite tiny back there. Once it gets to a point where it's really hard to kind of like see, then you can just say, okay, well, then there's the next one, there's the next one, etc. Just still trying to get them on the same horizontal diminishing plane is helpful. Okay. Do something like that. So you could even right now, before we could take a quick break, just for fun, we can say, okay, well, let's just make that green. Of course, we could do the sky even. I'm just playing. But you can see how very easily we can use these tools to help us to create the illusion of space, the illusion of distance. Okay. That's just for fun. Okay. Hardest stuff that we cover in class, I promise. I really do believe that. I believe that figure drawing is easier. I believe, drawing hands is easier, because this is like there are these rules that are like structured rules that, like, if you don't get them correct, then it doesn't work out. And I think that can be frustrating on drawing. Great when you're sending someone to the moon. Okay, let's take a 10-minute break and come back, everybody. Okay, and we'll work on this a little bit further. Recording. Okay, so the next classic thing to do would be like the lines down the road. Let's do that in a minute. First, I want to build it like a building with you. So let's go ahead and make a new layer. Okay, and then I'm just going to pick like a brighter color, something which I can later hide. So let's talk about like, how do we see a building in this space? So we have to make some decisions, like, so this is the height of that's the height there of our sidewalk. Okay, so how many times would a sidewalk go into a building? Well, of course, it depends on the building. Okay, but let's go ahead and let's just make something up. Let's go down sort of like 2 sidewalks along here. Okay, and just on our new layer, let's quickly just find the center of that little thing there. And there we can pull a horizontal line over. Pardon me, that wasn't magnetized. There we go. And let's just use that to locate where we want our building to go. And I think if we keep going, I think we could go to about there. How do I know? I don't. Just feeling it. So then I'm just going to take from that point, that would be my orthogonal all the way down. Okay, easy peasy. Okay, so go ahead and put on your draw tool, and let's do corner to corner here and here. It's going to go up the page a little bit. We'll have to just kind of imagine. Now, if we don't want to imagine, what we could do would be this. Watch. I could actually do corner to corner over here. Oh, it's going to go off the page too. So I guess it doesn't matter. So yeah, we can just go corner to corner here, corner to corner there, and just kind of imagine where you think it would interact. Actually, there is a way to find it. Just looking at this with you right now, there is a way to find it exactly, which would be actually this, y'all. Corner to corner, horizontal, vertical, and then horizontal. There we go. There we go. That's reliable. Sometimes it just takes a moment. Okay, so come up this step onto the sidewalk into the door. Okay, so how wide is the door? How tall is the door? Well, if it's an average size door, then it's going to be, like what? Like just under halfway up the size of the building if it's a 1-story building, say. Okay, so let's just go ahead, and we want to put the door in the center of the space we just created. So again, let's do something that's going to help us get like an even space. Let's go corner to corner there. Now again, we've lost the chance to go corner to corner over here, so we could go corner to corner down here, which would give us a vertical line there, which would give us a horizontal line there and a horizontal line there. Now where those lines line up, I can go all the way up. I'm going to go to about where I think the height of the door should be. I'm going to go to just a hair beyond that. And of course, the other side I can't see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take my orthogonal from that corner down and up. Now remember, if you want to give an illusion of space, having things fall outside of the picture frame is going to help enhance that illusion of space. So let's let that door fall towards us, okay? Now let's go ahead and put a window in the other side here. So you're going to go corner to corner. Orthogonal. Okay. And then you need to decide, where does the window go? What kind of window do you want? Where would it belong? Yada, yada, yada. You get to pick. My window, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go corner to corner. And then I'm going to go vertical line in between. Here we go. Turn that orthogonal tool back on, that perspective tool back on. That's going to give me a line there. Okay. So now I can start to see that I could have a window here. Okay. Then I could put the center panel, the center frame coming through there. Okay, but that's going to be a lot of extra drawing for us right now. So I'm actually just going to do this. I'm not going to do like a crossbar in the center. I'm actually just going to do this sort of shape of a window. Now I just made a new layer. So then I think what I'll do is I just like focus on the window here. We can see now it's just floating in space. I feel like that's a bit confusing. So on my new layer, I'm just going to draw the outside edges of my building and my door. See? That's not quite right, is it? There we go. Okay, pretty flat window. Doesn't really look very believable. So I'm going to turn this layer back on, go back to it, change color so I can keep track of what I'm doing. Zoom in so it's nice and clear. Okay, draw style, corner to corner, corner to corner, corner to corner, corner to corner. Nice and easy. Vertical, vertical. So, we're doing this over and over again on purpose because I want it to start to feel very natural to you. Corner to corner, corner to corner. Oops, pardon me, corner to corner. And I'm just going to change color so I can see it a bit better. Vertical, vertical. Okay. So that can now tell me where my interior edges are. And they're diminishing at the correct proportional ratio. Then you guessed it, what's next? Well, we know what's next. I'll make a new layer here. Okay, so I know where this is. So corner to corner here. Let's change colors, Vaughn, so everyone can see. Corner to corner, corner to corner, kind of thing. orthogonal, corner to corner, corner to corner, orthogonal. Okay, so now we can see our top thickness. And here, of course, now corner to corner, orthogonal, corner to corner, orthogonal. Go to my new layer. Just going to pick up my original color there. So now I'm just going to draw in the lines I just found. Take that down in opacity so it's easier to see. Make sure my magnet is on. So I have this line here. I have this line here. Now I have a window like that. Then I can erase all the bits and bobs I don't need. Ta-ta. Now I have a window. Now, of course, this is taking a long time right now, but once you get used to it, it's quite quick. Okay. Questions? Everyone good? Making sense? See, like, this is why, you know, like, it's kind of like there's this constant debate within the classes. Like, do we ask students to have the camera on? Do we require students to have them off? Like, whatever. Like, this is why it's really important, because like, I can see you all and you can shake your head while you're still drawing, and I know that you're with me. And I'm not telling you to turn your camera on if you just were struggling today with not having your camera on, that's fine. I just was talking. I haven't got my, like, what I feel as my, like, you know, necessary hour and a half of babbling in. So I'm just trying to, you know, babble a little bit. It's like I've been on point all class. I struggle with that. Okay, so next part. So now we just need to figure out like a thickness for the inside of that window. And y'all, it's quite simple. Let's just think about it. How thick should that window frame be? There's all kinds of window frames in the world, all kinds of thicknesses. Let's just go with something. Let's say visually it's about half of the thickness of the outside frame. Now inside here, quite easy, right? Horizontal line, orthogonal. That's it. That's all we need. Let's go in there and just kind of clean that up a little bit. Something like that. Okay, so why are we seeing that? Let's pick it apart. Why are we seeing that? We're seeing that because the bottom of the window frame is slightly on, or just about on the horizon line. So we're not going to see the interior or the bottom of the frame, but the top of the frame is above the horizon line. So we are going to see a portion of that. And it is the vanishing point is in the center. So that's going to expose the interior right side of the window. Okay. All right, so looking at the thickness of the window we just did, we can also say, well, let's give a thickness to the door. How thick should it be? I don't know. I don't want it to be the same thickness as the window frame on the left side. I want it to be just a hair smaller than that. But I could definitely say that like the top of the door frame could line up with this orthogonal there. Why could I say that? Because I want to say that, and I did. That's why. It was easy to do. Okay. Now, say you have a mitered corner there. Easy. Erase that line there. And then just simply do a mitered corner there. However, that does look like it's the interior of the door frame. So I'm not going to go with that. I don't really like that. I'm just going to go back to extending this over. I think that looks a bit better. Okay. Now we're going to decide on the interior thickness of the door frame. Just like we did on the window frame, we're going to take half of what's visible, straight line down, zoom right in here, horizontal line, and then orthogonal. Then just erase the bit that you don't need right here. We have like that. And now down here on the bottom, same thing, horizontal line. Here, horizontal line. Yep. And then orthogonal. So planes, right? Like thinking about planes, these are just rectangles in space. That means that certain planes are going to be visible and other planes are not. Okay. We're going to wrap up this building and then we're going to switch to something that you're going to be using for your homework, which is continuous line contour interior spaces. We're going to do a demonstration of that with you. First, I want to just kind of like wrap up this building. Building seems a little dull. So, I don't know, let's figure out how to make it less dull. Let's give ourselves a window that is in the middle between the door frame and the other window. Okay. So that means we want the center of the window that we're going to create to be there. Let's use a different color. There we go. Might not be visible enough. There we go. So we're going to have that as the center of the window. And what I'm going to do is make a new layer to build this window. And I'm going to come over here. Okay. I'm just going to go back, and I've already done this work here. So I actually already know where the center of the window on the bottom is. So I can just steal that line and pull it straight up. That's going to give me the outside edge of my window. Okay. Now the other side of my window is probably going to fall off the page. But let's see. We said that, yes. So basically we said that this, so we are going to see some of it. That was going to be the center of that, right? The center of the doorway. And so then we said that would be the center there. Okay. So then let's decide on, so I just used the center of the doorway that we found before and pulled it up, and the center of the window which we found before, which I pulled up. Okay, which actually means that this line here, judging by it, why can't I erase that line? Should be this line. So slightly off there. So we can check that, like, we can check the center of the top half by finding the center of the bottom, corner to corner here, corner to corner there. So this would come down there, about right there. So that looks pretty good. So now let's look and make some decisions, like how high up do we want the window to be? Well, let's go ahead and just decide that we want it about halfway up the top here. Okay, so we've got a lot of our spaces falling off the picture plane. Okay, so we need to basically just create a smaller space that's on the picture frame that we can then find the center to. So we could actually do that by just drawing a line here, a vertical line. Like here, blimey. Here. There's that orthogonal there. There's that orthogonal there. So then if we just find the center of that space here to here, and we turn on the perspective, then that will now give us the center. Do you see? Because they're running through space parallel. And then I can use the same tools. I can go, okay, center here and here. And you can see just dividing the space, dividing the space, dividing the space. Okay, orthogonal, orthogonal. So now I can actually get rid of all this because we don't need it. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to make sure that my perspective tool is turned on. So I can go in here, and go in here, and here. So there's my top window. And follow the same principles I had before for the thickness of the windowsill. Horizontal line. Line that up. orthogonal. Okay. For the last part of the class, we're just going to talk about continuous line contour spaces because that's going to be your homework. Okay, so what we want to be focusing on is how do you create a continuous line contour of an interior space? Please understand right now that I'm only asking you to do 1-point perspective spaces. I'm not asking you to do 2, 3-point perspective spaces. I'm only asking you to do 1-point perspective spaces. So what do they look like? How does this function? Just like all the other contour drawings that we've done. Okay, if you remember back from your video, this is going to be like intuitive perspective, just like the Pompeian painters. So I'm going to start off with a place. Now I'm going to make sure it's 1-point perspective by ensuring that something is facing me. So this part of my kitchen is facing me. Okay, and I can see that it's facing me because this is flat. And what I want to do is as I come through this space, I'm going to come through, build my flat forms, and then I'm going to then draw everything with a very sort of gestural continuous line contour. Okay. This should be methodical, but it can also be looser. It can also be more seeking. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to basically just draw everything that I see. I'm going to be thinking about my perspective rules as I do that, but I don't want you to do linear perspective. This is a gestural continuous line contour of an interior space. You have to draw everything that you see. My suggestion is before you begin, make sure that you don't have stuff that's sticking out of the wall. You know, like that's going to make it like a 3-point perspective. And I want you to see if you can't feel where your vanishing point's going to be. Pay attention to the height of relationships, like where one thing is above another thing. Don't just like, try to like slap it all together. Once you start finding orthogonal lines visually, see if you can't figure out where they're going to line up and help you to find your vanishing point. Okay, this is, yes, it's contour, but also really this is gesture. Okay, this is us starting to adapt and apply skills. 1 + 1 = 1. Okay, it's contour in the sense that we're just looking at contour line, continuous line in the sense of contour, but also continuous line in the sense of looking at an overall space with lots of stuff in it. Okay, you're going to do it, all of them on a sheet of mixed media paper. All of them will be on the front of the paper. Okay, and so they can overlap a little bit, but try not to make them overlap in totality. Okay, let's have a look at the instructions. So it says, each drawing is about 10 minutes. Okay, so, oh, I need to, sorry, this number's off. Oh, here we go. So, right, using the process examined in class, create 4 continuous line contour drawings using a ballpoint pen of 4 different spaces you'd like to visit. Each drawing should be about 10 minutes.
Are we supposed to be seeing your screen because it's still on the drawing?
Oh, it's still on my lovely drawing. Thank you. All right, sorry about that. So 4 continuous line contour drawings using a ballpoint pen of 4 different spaces you'd like to visit. Each drawing should be 10 minutes. That's 40 minutes, okay? And then using the process examined in class, like what I just showed you, create 6 continuous line contour drawings using color pencil. If you don't have 6 different color pencils, that's fine. Okay, you can just use your watercolor pencils and then regular pencils and pens. Okay. Each drawing should be about 10 minutes, so that's about an hour. Okay, and then you're going to do 1 final contour drawing of an interior space using a ballpoint pen. Okay, and so let's just do this. So that's 10, that's 40. So let's do this. That's a bit too much work for one day. See, I have a soul. So let's just do the 4 here, the 4 continuous line contour drawings using a ballpoint pen, and then the 6 continuous line contour drawings using different color pencils or markers or pens. And if you don't have any of that, then you can just use pencils, okay? And so then we'll do that. I wondered why I gave this project over a weekend. I can see now. So then we're gonna do that. And then you're going to come to here and somewhat stop. Okay. So we're just going to erase all this. Boop. Okay. That makes it much smaller. So 4 in ballpoint pen. Okay. They should be all on one sheet. And then 10 using different kinds of pencils. They should be on one sheet.
So can these be drawings of just like photos that we find on the internet, or does it have to be
No
like,
photos.
no photos? So it all
No
has to be from
photos.
real life.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Let me just highlight that. It says 4 spaces you'd like to visit, you see?
Yeah, that's why I
Uh,
thought that, like, I was thinking like, oh, look up a picture of like some city you want to visit on the internet. So that was
Oh,
kind of
no. That sounds way
But-
too much fun.
Yeah. I got it now.
Yeah. Of 4, let's rewrite the spaces that you are physically able to be in. How's that? More clear?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Okay, because you're going to get a lot more by drawing from life. You're not going to get as much by drawing from a photograph. And you can't ensure in a photograph that's 1 point perspective. Okay. So that's great. Thanks so much. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So y'all, if you're drawing a 1 point perspective space, but you see a chair and it's turned outwards and it's no longer like laying against the wall, then it's no longer 1 point perspective.
Do you have any examples that you could maybe show?
No. Okay, so let's talk about this. So this isn't like a major project.